Hey guys, hello and a very warm welcome back to my channel. So in previous video we completed ratios part and we are doing ratio and proportion. So I've completed ratios part already, so you can just check that part out. So today I'm going to start up with what proportion. Okay, so today we'll be doing proportions part. So now, before starting, hello everyone and very warm welcome back to my channel Soothing Studies YT. So in today's video, we'll be continuing with our quant revision series, and I'm already going through the series. Okay, and this is maybe part 4 of the series, and we'll be completing complete quant here. Okay, and we are just continuing with the videos every day. 2 to 3 videos would be there for your reference, and you can just have a look at them and you can study from them. And I'll be starting with the basics. I'll be going from basics to advanced. All the questions would be done with all important types. All types would be covered of all the question, so you need not worry about some other types if are there. Okay, and I'll be completing whole of the syllabus, so you don't have to worry about it. So in the previous lecture I have completed with you guys, I have created 2 videos on ratio and we have completed whole of the ratio part. Okay, and now today I'll be doing proportions. Okay, so now let's begin with the topic of proportions. Okay, so when I'm talking about proportions, so proportions is what? Proportion is something where two ratios are similar to each other. For example, if I say 3 ratio 6 is in proportion, so this is a sign of proportion. 4 dots, okay, is in proportion to 8 ratio 16. If I'm saying this, so that means this whole ratio is related to this whole ratio in a similar manner. Okay. So if you have to prove this, okay, so how would I prove this? So I'll prove this in a following manner. I'll take this and I'll write here as 3 by 6, and here I'll write 8 by 16. So if you can cancel this out, if you'll be able to cancel this out, here I'll get 1 by 2, here also I'm getting 1 by 2. So in a way both of them are getting the same answer, so that means they are in proportion. Okay, so this is the concept of proportion. Okay, so I hope you understood what is a proportion. Okay, so this was the basic. uh, so there are different kinds of proportion which are asked. Okay, types asked in exam. Okay, so there could be a question about fourth proportion, and there could be mean proportion. Here it could be third proportion as well. It basically means the last proportion. Okay, so what is mean proportion and what is the last or the fourth or the third proportion? Okay, so you could be asked any of them, so let's understand what do they mean. Okay, so if I'm writing as A ratio B is in proportion with C ratio B. Okay, and if I ask you that, if I put here, say I remove D and I create a question where I put here X and I tell you to find X, so this one would be the fourth proportion. Okay, now if I give you a question where I have given you A ratio B is in proportion to B ratio C, so here if I ask you to find this B, find B, so these are the middle proportions and they're going to be same. Okay, so these proportions are called as what? These are called as mean proportion. Okay, I'll give you an example for both of them so that you'll be able to understand it much more in a better way. For example, I'll be giving examples of both of them. If I say 4 ratio 6 is in proportion with 12 ratio x. So you have to find x. So how do you find it? It's very simple. 4 ratio 6 is equal to 12 by x. Now cancel whatever gets cancelled. Okay. So here I get 3 and 4. Just a second guys, I think I've done something. I'll just do it again. Okay, so it is like this. 4 by 6 is in ratio by 12 by x. So if I cancel this, so I get 3 here. Okay, now what I'm left with, now you have to do the cross multiply. 6 into 3 is equal to x into 1. Okay, so 6 3 is 18. 18 is the value of x. So this would be your answer. Okay, I hope you understood. Now in this one, if I have to find the mean proportion, for example of what is 2 ratio 4 and not, do not write 4 here, 2 ratio x is in proportion to x ratio 8. Okay, so you have to find the mean proportion. So you will give it 2 by x is equal to x by 8. So it would be x square is equal to 16. So value of x would be what? 4. Okay, so this one would be your answer. This is your mean proportion. Okay, so I hope you understood it well. How do you solve the questions of proportions? Okay, now let's understand some other things or some other questions that could be asked. Okay, if I give you a question which you have to do by yourself, so find the fourth proportion, find the fourth proportion of 12, 21 and 8. Okay, so this is the question you have to attempt yourself. Easily you can get the answer. You just, instead of, now you have to put here x, take another term as x, and then you have to solve it. Okay, now if I give you a question, say 0 0.12, 0 0.21 and 8, then you have to find its fourth proportion is equal to what? Fourth proportion is equal to what? So how do you find this one? I'll show you. Now here you just simplify it. You'll just write it as 12 by 100. Here you will write it as, no sorry, not 12 by 100. Just do one thing, just write it like this: 0 0.12, 0 0.21 is equal to 8 upon x. This is what I'm going to be getting. If I remove the comma, if I remove the points, so 100 and 100 would get cancelled, so I'll be left over with 12 by 21. So is equal to 8 by x. So if I cancel this, so I can cancel this by 4, this by 6. Okay, so here I'll get 6x is equal to 21 into 4. So I'll get here 84 is equal to 6x. So the value of x would be what? 84 by 6. So what I'll be getting? I'll be getting 14. Okay, so the value of x is 14. That means this would be the fourth proportion. So this is going to be our answer. Okay, so try and solving these kinds of questions. Now the question is that the third proportion of, this is for your, do it yourself, third proportion of 12 and 18. Don't write third proportion, write mean proportion. Mean proportion of 12 and 18. Okay, Okay, let's do another question. You have to find the third proportion of 3, 17 root 3, and no, not and, just 2. Okay, so how do you solve this one? So since it is asking third proportion, so it would be like this. Okay, 17 root 3 by x. So this is how it is going to be. Okay, so here the value of x would be 17 root 3 into 17 root 3 by 3. So it would give you 3. Okay, so it would be 17, and 3 would get cancelled. So basically you will be left with x is equal to 17 into 17. So you'll be getting the value of x as 289. This is going to be your answer. Okay, I hope you are able to understand what is third proportion, what is fourth proportion, and what are the different kinds of proportions. Okay, let's do another question. 3 root 2 and 12 minus root 32. You have to find its mean proportion. So how do you find the mean proportion? You do 3 root 2 upon x is equal to x upon my 12 minus root 32. Okay, so you'll be getting here x square is equal to, just put a plus here. Okay, 3 plus root 2, 3 plus root 2 into 12 minus root 32. A plus b, a minus b. Okay, and if I remove the root, it would give you a root here. Okay, if you solve it, so you'll be getting, मैं उठा लाती, sorry. Okay, so you can just solve it and just share your answers in the comment. Okay, okay, so there is a very important type of question. Okay, and this is like of the mains level, it could be asked there. Okay, now x subtracted if x is subtracted from each 21, 60 and 64, the numbers so obtained the numbers so obtained in this order are in proportion. I'm writing the full question by giving you the time so that like you would be able to understand it well, because it is important to know what is mean proportion, what is mean proportion between x plus 1 and 7x plus 8. Okay, so how do you solve these kind of questions? So what we basically do is that like if x is subtracted from each 21, 22, 60 and 64. Okay, so here if I put it in like proportion, so it would be something like this. Okay, now if I subtract it, first of all let me find out the difference between them. So here the difference is 1 and here the difference is 4. So if they are in proportion, so this should be same. So if I multiply this by 4, so I have to multiply this whole by 4. Okay, so here I'll be getting 21. If I subtract x from 21 and I have to multiply it by 4, okay, then it would be equal to the 60 of this one. Okay, so it would be 60 minus x. Okay, so from here I have to find the value of x. Okay, so if I find the value of x, so finally I'll be getting the value of x as 8. You guys can just do this finding yourself, you'll get 8. Okay, now if you have got the value of 8, so you can just put this value in here. You would have done this with 22 and 64 also, the answer would have been same. Okay, so if I do x plus 1, so it is basically going to be equal to 9, and if I do this, so it would be 7 into 8 plus 8. 7 8 the 64 plus 8. Okay, so here what we will be doing is, uh, 9 by x, okay, is equal to x by, you have to find the mean, right? So mean would be x by, what you will get here, uh, 72. Okay, so you just find the answer, okay, and find the value of x. Okay, so you'll get the mean proportion. I hope you understood the previous one. Now let's move forward. Now there is a topic of ratio which is left. So there are various types of ratio that you have to understand. Okay, how do you, so there are around how much, one, two, three, four, five different types of ratios. Okay, one, okay, so five different types of ratios. So now let us write all of them. So first one is called as compound ratio. Compound ratio. Second one is called as duplicate ratio. Duplicate ratio. Third one is called as triplicate ratio. Now these could be asked directly in your exam, that find the triplicate ratio of a particular question or whatever. Okay, so these things could be asked. This is subduplicate and ratio for sure, and we have inverse ratio. Okay, so these are the different kinds of ratios. Now we need to understand that what do they mean. Okay, so if there is a ratio, say m ratio n and a ratio b, and you have to find the compound ratio, then it would be m into a upon में n into b. Okay, for example, if I have 4 ratio 3 and 5 ratio 7, and I have to find its compound ratio, so it would be 5 4s are 20 by 7 3s are 21. Okay, or you can also write it as 20 ratio 21. Just multiply first together and seconds together. Okay, now sorry, now let's understand about duplicate ratio. So duplicate ratio is just going to be, for example, if it is a ratio b, so the duplicate ratio would be adding another a ratio b. For example, if I have a duplicate ratio, I have a ratio 3 ratio 4, and they're asking you to find its duplicate ratio. So what you do is add another 3 ratio 4. Okay, so you will be getting 3 3s are 9 and 4 4s are 16. So this is going to be your answer. Okay, now if I'm asking you about what is the color which I have not been used already. If I'm asking you about what is the triplicate ratio here, so it would just be a ratio b 3 times. Okay, for example, the triplicate ratio of 3 ratio 9 would be what? 3 ratio 9, 3 ratio 9 into 3 ratio 9. Basically 3 cube and 9 cube. So you'll get 27 ratio 64. Okay. Now if I'm asking you about subduplicate ratio, okay. So subduplicate is, for example, they are going to ask you what is a square ratio. If a square ratio b square is given, then you have to find its subduplicate ratio. So what would be subduplicate ratio? It would be a ratio b. Okay, yeah, for example, if it has been given 4 ratio 16, so the subduplicate ratio would be 2 ratio 4. Okay, basically I've done a square root. Then if they are asking you about inverse ratio, so what would be the inverse ratio? If there is a ratio m ratio n, then you have to have the inverse ratio of n ratio n. Okay, for example, if I give you 2 ratio 3, then you have its inverse ratio as 3 ratio 2, so it would be 2 ratio 3 ka inverse ratio would be what? 3 ratio 2. So this is going to be our answer. Okay. So this is how you are going to be solving different kinds of ratios. They could be asked directly, and you can answer it very easily. Okay, so this is it for today. Thank you so much guys, and have a very nice day, and go do subscribe the channel if you like the content, and leave me a like. If you understood it well, you can share it with your friends and people who need it. And also, if there are any doubts, you can always ask in the comment section below.